I hereby call the Brockton School Committee to order, it being Tuesday, the 21st of March in the year 2023, a little after 7 o'clock. I'd ask everybody please stand and salute our American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get into the meeting, I just got to read the following into the record. Welcome to an open meeting of the school committee. This agenda will be discussed this evening. Please note the hearing of visitors is also included as Agenda 2. If you have a statement or questions, please give your name to the secretary. It will be read into the record. Any hearing and visitors are limited to 3 minutes and discussion. In addition to attending live, the public can view this meeting via television on Comcast Channel 98 and also on 1071 HD version and online via the following link, www.youtube.com/TheBrocktonChannels. I'll now establish a quorum. Mr. Sullivan? Yes. Mr. Homer?
Here.
Mrs. Ehlers?
Here.
Mrs. Rivas-Mendez?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Ms. Azak?
Here.
Mr. Sullivan?
Here.
The chair is here as well. We have established a quorum. We'll now go into agenda number 2, which is and Abby is here as well, student representative. Good evening, Abby. We will now go to hearing of visitors. We have 2 individuals. First one is Mr. John C. Williams, 206 Spring Street. Mr. Williams, please come to the podium. Good evening. John, I don't think that's on. You might have to hit the button.
On a day where, we came to recognize the awesome team that did an awesome job, I'm here to speak about something completely different. As a black man in this city, as a black man in this system, I feel completely attacked all the time. I'm supported by a few individuals within this city. Mr. Mike Thomas, Ms. Sharon Walder, a few others. And since I had a disagreement with your office, Mayor, I've experienced nothing but attacks from the police, attacks from individuals within this city. The police department has put 2 cases on me. They've showed up in my house. Now all of a sudden, I'm the big bad black guy who threatened somebody that I don't even know. More and more investigations. Police officers see me in a pizza place with my son, giving my son a slice of pizza. He comes out, all of a sudden I've threatened you, I've threatened the DA, and I've threatened him. I don't care about your political agendas. I care about these kids. I think that I've proven that by now. And when it happened, when we acted the way we acted, we still weren't looked at as human beings. Afterwards, administration just walked by us, admonished us for calling the police. You stood, you knew what we did. You would never say my name in a positive light, and that's okay. That's okay. But black people in this city, we always have to come and ask and beg for our dignity, for respect. We have to work 10 times harder and always under investigation. I've worked in this city solely on my reputation. That's it. Solely on my reputation. I have nothing else protecting me. And all that gets attacked is my reputation. I've literally saved kids' lives. I figuratively saved kids' lives. I've saved adults' lives in this school system. Made it all right for them to buy a house for their families. I created a whole system of support for our young people. And I did it because I was one of them. I was one of the people that you look past I sit in meetings. You derive all these commissions.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Williams, you're not allowed to attack people here. You're allowed to discuss.
They come up with things, commissions. I have the right to speak my mind.
Not to attack.
And you have the right to listen to me because you work for me, Mayor.
I do.
You do.
I do.
Absolutely.
Correct.
I am a citizen of this city.
Yes, you are, sir.
And
But I
this
don't need to sit here and be
administration has
attacked
attacked
personally.
But I haven't been attacked personally. You attack my livelihood. You attack my ability to provide for my children.
I know what you're talking about, John.
I know you don't. And that's why I'm saying it to the people of Brockton. I'm saying it to the people of Brockton. I'm saying it to the school committee because we're responsible for helping our kids. And people like me that go and run into the fire every day and not sit and get fat off the city like you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
No thanks, neither.
Mr. Brickhouse, George Brickhouse, 149 Brookside Ave. Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Brickhouse.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Superintendent, and school board members, and those in the audience. My name is George Brickhouse. I reside in Brockton at 141 Brookside Ave. My handwriting at times is a little bit shaky. If you don't mind, I'll pass, if you don't mind passing those out to the school board members. I'm here to address this evening a program that I would like to see in the Brockton public school system. It's called CAT, Critical Analytical Thinking. The program has been in progress for over 2 years. It's pulled from Sweden and Germany and Dubai. And one of the reasons that it's pulled from foreign countries is that the United States ranks 13th, tied with Belgium in terms of education within the world. The critical analytical thinking is based on a theory of competitive game thinking and analytical addressing of the lifestyles that our young people face at this time. Coming into COVID, Brockton was not a major funding source for the state. COVID balanced that out, allowing funds to come into everyone so everyone could see everybody equally and everything was above board. Meeting with Mike Thomas helped me change the program. My initial concept was fifth graders and 10th graders. Fifth graders because they were just coming into their own as to who am I. 10th graders because after the 9th grade, I've gotten over, wow, girls, wow, boys, and lunch. So now I'm ready to do something. But meeting with the superintendent has enabled me to refocus and take a look at where the strength needs to be to make our young people strong so they can compete and represent Brockton across where we are and should be as we were in shoe manufacturing and cough drop making. Brockton was known throughout the world, and with the critical analytical thinking program instituted into the middle schools, because numbers have shown the greatest area of concern that we have for remedial learning is in the 9th grade. So that means coming out of the middle schools, there is an issue that needs to be addressed. Critical analytical thinking, besides the gameplay, involves financial literacy, historical background, growth, and opportunity. It involves civics, it involves art, and it involves music, all in one classroom at one time. So if your youngster is coming to school on a day where he's not feeling real good about being in school, he's there because we have mental health licensed people in the room at the same time. If he doesn't want to do that day, he can do artwork that day. If he wants to just sit down and talk and maybe play backgammon or chess or checkers, which also is part of a life development, because in those areas you win and you lose. And we have to accept the fact that sometimes in life we lose and we need to stand back up and get ready and do it one more time. I've taken a while to put this program together. And as I said, looking into Europe, looking into Dubai, because I started in Brockton with a principal by the name of Smith at West Middle School. And back then, he told me, he said, George, I like everything you're doing, but what you want to do is going to upset some people. Because I said, look, why are we always putting all of our troubled kids on pharmaceuticals? And he said, we can't question that. But if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to have an opportunity to have a say-so in what we do with our young people. And thanks to the superintendent and the mayor, I stand before you this evening. And as I said, I recognize a few faces, I know a few names who know me. And if you were to ask about me, I think you would get nothing but a positive, and I think you would have gotten that also from Mr. John Williams. Brockton is a city that's coming together. We have an opportunity to make it a city for everyone. Everyone deserves to have the best of all of us. And we need to make sure that we do that for our young people, to develop them, to go out and do what they need to do. And the fact that the world is coming together. Massasoit is now able to come across town at half price to Stonehill. Wow. How long did it take for that to happen? Come on now. We can do better. And if we do it together, and as we said, we've talked about the program to start as an after-school program, to then have a run through the summer school, and what I would like to see the program progress to as an elective when we've picked the South Middle School as our, I guess, our ground floor to start from, to take a look at. I'm just asking you to read the information that I've given you. If you have any questions, any conversations, any positives or negatives, then reach out to me. Let's do what we need to do. And I know my 3 minutes is up, and I'm going to roll. But I appreciate the opportunity presented to me. And as I said, we can do a lot better. We made shoes that the world purchased. We made cough drops that everybody used. Let's do the same thing with education. So in the CAT program, it can go throughout the state and throughout the country, and people can say, that started in Brockton also. God bless you.
Thank you, Mr. Brickhouse. Thank you. There are no other signed-up hearing of visitors, so we'll move on to agenda number 3. Consent agenda is A, B, C, D, and E. Is there any matters that want to be taken out, or do we take them collectively? What's the will of the committee?
Motion to approve consent agenda?
So motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Let me just read them into the record if I could. A is the approval of the minutes regular school committee meeting, which is March 7th, 2023. B is a request for authorization to submit proposals and expenditure of funds. FY 2023 Department of Health and Human Services, $3.8 million or $970,000 per year. FY 2023 Massachusetts Skills Capital Grant Program, $250,000 each program. Total request $500,000 even. FY 2023 increase in funding for the FC 345 Adult Brockton Adult Learning Center grant, $170,000 total. Request $1,266,393. FY 2023 Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Office for College, Career, and Technical Education, the amount of $40,000 even. FY 2023 donation grant from the Popplestone Foundation in the amount of $20,000 even. FY 2023 funding to the State Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Office of Food and Nutrition Programs for the Summer Food Service Program in the amount of $4,018.45. C is the approval of out-of-state field trip, which is the BHS Concert Choir. D is the approval of 2022-2023 home education request. And then finally, E is the acceptance of human resources notifications, appointments, certified personnel, appointments, non-certified. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made by Mrs. Sullivan, it's properly seconded by Mr. Sullivan. Again, A, B, C, D, E collectively. All in favor, kindly raise your hand. Please raise your hand if you oppose. It passes unanimous. We will now go to Agenda 4, which is the report of Superintendent of Schools, Mike Thomas. Mike.
So first, we have our student rep from BHS, Abby. She hasn't joined us in a couple of weeks, but she's gonna give us an update on how the spring is starting here at Brockton High School.
Hi, thank you for having me. Like you said, it's been a few weeks, so I'm glad to be here. Starting with academic, we'd like to shout out all of our amazing students that were awarded the Seal of Biliteracy. Their names are seen up on the screen with what language they got it in. We would like to remind all our seniors and family that the 2023 scholarship book is out, and with many deadlines approaching, we encourage all to be looking into them. Our peer mediation group was invited to the Be in the Know conference, where they got to share with like-minded students on what they are doing in their school to make a difference and learn from other organizations at other schools nearby. Moving into athletics, our boys basketball team was ranked 14th and they played their way into the Division I Elite 8 game against ranked 6 North High, and it took an unfortunate loss after having a great season with a record of 15-8. We want to congratulate Christensen Paul, who finished 5th and medaled at the New Balance Nationals this last weekend. Now, with the conclusion of our winter sports and the weather getting nicer, it's time to officially start spring sports. And as our athletes conduct their tryouts this week on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we want to wish good luck to all our athletes. Our annual student versus staff basketball tournament will be on Wednesday, April 5th at 2:30 in the gym, and all students are welcome to join. Moving on to chorus and band, the jazz band held their Night of Jazz last Saturday, the 18th, and Brockton High's chorus will have their spring concert on March 23rd at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. We would also like to congratulate the students on the board for representing the BHS in the Massachusetts All-State Music Festival. For drama, our FebFest drama competition team has moved on to state finals. Awards were given to 7 members of our company, and their names and awards are seen on the screen. We also, yesterday after school, had some very exciting announcements that Mamma Mia is going to be the musical for this year, so many students are very excited for that, and we highly await seeing the preparation and start of the show. And then lastly, I'd like to have a student shout out for Xavier Masaturn, who was awarded the Golden Glove in boxing, which is a very prestigious award given to amateur boxers. He's the first one at Brockton High to see it, and you never know, this might be the next Rocky Marciano. Remember that face. And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. So next, obviously, you know, is the unfortunate situation we had at the Huntington School with a stabbing. And at this time, we are continuing the investigation. Not only the Brockton Police has to do an investigation, but then we, as a district, have to do an investigation. So Dr. Labouie, outside attorney Paige Tobin will conduct the internal investigation, where they will interview everybody involved, and, you know, to get to, obviously, what we need to review as a school system. And that has to be done, obviously, it's confidential. I can't release much information about the incident, other than that's, you know, what has been talked about confidentially, but I can't talk about it publicly because there are pending charges, and it involves student confidentiality, and also teacher confidentiality, because they have to obviously be interviewed. Of anybody that was there and that saw it, has to go through that process, so everybody is able to tell what happened that day. So that's in the process now. But first, I want to, after that, I want to bring up, so Get to the Gate is a mentoring program that is housed in the top floor of the Huntington. So it's a program, so as you know, when the law changed, when students are charged with felonies, serious felonies, in the old days, you could just send them out of school. and keep them home and give them no education. You cannot do that with the change of the law, so you cannot just expel students, but you do have to remove them. And this is students that assault teachers, students that assault each other, and it's several times, students that display really alarming behavior, and also students that are charged with felonies either in school or out of school for offenses, either weapons, drugs, assaultive behavior. So obviously, we still have those students with us, and it's important for us to, and we don't advocate for students to be expelled and thrown out of school, because that just leads to them getting in more trouble and going to prison. So Get to the Gate has been a program that, these are difficult students to work with, and they work with them, go to their homes, go to court dates with them. So I want to bring up Clarissa Turner, who is the leader of the program, and I want to bring up Rakim Turner, so you can come up to the podium.
Superintendent?
What's that?
Oh, can we just get an update on the student that was injured? I
Yeah,
know a
the
lot of people
student-
have been asking me
thank you.
how the
He
student's
is
doing.
home. He came home last Saturday, and he is recovering well and looking forward to coming back to school.
Okay. I know I've gotten a lot of
Yep.
questions from constituents just seeing how the student, it was a tough week on that school with a loss and then that incident that weren't related,
Right.
but it was just a tough week. So a lot of people have been thinking of the Huntington School and the staff and the students.
So I met Clarissa about a year and a half ago. So Clarissa lost her son in Boston to street violence, and she made a commitment to herself and to the community that she wouldn't allow another mother to go through that pain. So she started the Get to the Gate program, and I encourage you to go visit what they have done on the third floor of the Huntington School. They spend a lot of time on restorative practices, helping students understand their feelings, getting them to open up of the things that they're really suffering with. And a lot of them, again, are prone to violence, but this is a very peaceful, serene environment that's been provided by Clarissa and her team. And then we, obviously Rakim, John Williams, who's with the program, as well as Shakayla, who couldn't be with us, Shakayla Turner. They all work with these students, and they were in the gym that day and coming out of the gym when this incident was taking place. They did not hesitate to jump into action and, hold the student down with the knife, take the knife away. And then also, one of them also was calling the police at the same time. So them assisting, and then obviously we're able to get the nurse there, the Huntington School nurse, and the rest of the administration to come and assist. But if it wasn't for the presence of the Get to the Gate program, Rakim and John especially, those were the two. I can't go into details about the actual events because it has to be investigated, but let's just say that it would be very difficult to talk about it today if they weren't there. So that's why I can say that the student is home, doing well, and ready to return to school, and it was because of them being where they were at the right time. So I want to thank you, Chris. So you can give us a quick overview of, I know she's very low-key, but, I meet with her a lot because with this stressful job, every time I meet with her, she kind of helps you really relax. So that's another reason you should go visit, because she'll take you in the circle room and sit. So I was over there yesterday, and they were having breakfast with the kids. And I meet with all these kids I know because I have to meet with them because they go through the due process. They've been excluded from school for long periods of time, and then it's up to me to find them educational options. And Get to the Gate is an educational option that we have to provide under the law. So well, we have to provide alternative options for education. Get to the gate is one of them. So I know the kids that were there, and I know their backgrounds because I have to read into them thoroughly and get updates from their principals and assistants. And, you know, you're talking about some very serious offenses. And, you know, we tend to forget that, you know, our kids are dealing with a lot, and there's a lot of difficult behaviors. And our job, obviously, is to protect everybody in the school. But when these kids are excluded, they just don't disappear. Somebody has to work with them to get them to be able to get back to school and stay out of trouble, keep from going to prison, and that's what this Get to the Gate program is. So, Clarissa, if you can just give us a quick review of how your day goes.
Thank you, Mike. Giving honor to God who is ahead of my life, thanking God for today, right? As Mike said, I lost my son to murder. And the young individuals that took my son's lives basically are some of the kids that we deal with in our everyday. And I stand to see for them that they will not lose, because you can lose from death or jail. The students that we do receive, as Mike said, they have been through a lot. And as we know, we're living in times of a troubled world right now. It's a lot of hurt and pain. What do we do with all this hurt and pain? These traumas in the world does not come with directions nor instructions. So as we go, what do we do? And it's a saying, hurt people, but it's hurting people continue to hurt people. But I'm a living witness that heal people can heal people. Some of the students that we have today have been transformed. They are re-entered back into school. And I've been getting emails and calls and reports, not just from school, but from home, from parents that are saying that their children are different. They're learning how to respect, how to honor their parents. They come to the program. These are students who haven't worked, and they'll be honest and tell you they go to school and check in, but then they check out and don't do any academic work. So some of these students have been going to school and just sitting there and, ditching classes. But then when they come to the program, they're so far behind. But we're able to build in them anew, which is they matter. And we care about them. Not just we get you to the gate, but the whole, because we let them know that this is a whole team effort. It's not just us. And they can receive that. Also, some students who have had past issues with teachers and staff, also being able to sit down with them and give them an understanding of roles and the roles that they play in regards to the behaviors and the actions that they portray that leads to a reaction, which is what happens to them. We do a lot of processing. Like Mike said, you got to come to the program and see what it's like, get a nice tour. And the way we have it set up is good for them because that's their house. We're guests in it. And if you come to the program, you'll see a lot of art. So we have our children who skip, Prime, for example, they're 11 years old, and they skip 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 19, and 20, right? So they live in these lives of being an adult too soon. We bring them back to the age that they are. We play games with them. We had a wonderful time today. Jamie came over today to do a check-in, and we was playing Uno. And it was wonderful, Jamie. Thank you for that, because they got to see you as a human being and not just as an admin. And after you left, they talked about that and would like for you to come back. So it's just letting these kids know that we are humans, due to our titles, that we do care about them. I will say a lot of them, I don't want to name names, but there's one particular student who been giving, I think, all y'all a lot of trouble. And since he's been with us, God's amazing grace, he's transformed. He came to me last week because he's been getting Fs in completion, and his F went to a D. And he was so proud of himself, and I called his father, and his father was crying on the phone like, oh my God, I know he got it in him. So, and he's just one of the testimonies of, just taking time and being patient. And I do understand that teachers are wore out. I get it. These kids can be very disrespectful. We have kids of our own at home who don't disrespect us. And to come to work every day and you got kids that are calling you out your name and, putting their hands on you is not okay. And we let the kids know, your role is not to do those things. But we kind of help them to remember who they are and make them take ownership of the things that they do. Accountability is everything. So when you come to the program, each room have guidelines, and we allow them to be a part of the guidelines. But the guidelines are the law of the program, and it's a lot of being respectful. No gang signs. Keep your hands to yourself. So I don't want to keep on going on and on. You have to come and see it and feel the energy. It's not just seeing it. Like when you walk in, you honestly feel the energy. And that's what we bestow upon. So, Mike, thank you for the opportunity to serve in honor of my son.
So just following up, like, the rules that get to the gate are more strict than they are in school. Like, they do not put up with nonsense. But the students are held accountable for their schoolwork, for their behavior, and that really helps to get them transitioned back to school when it's time for them to go back. But just one last thing, and Clarissa, I met with her yesterday, and she made me cry because she is ready to go. This is the kind of person this is. Pretty soon, she is going to meet the men who killed her son, and she's going to face them as part of her forgiveness and the way she has learned to deal with this as a person and as a mother. It's just that alone, I mean, it just brought tears to my eyes that she's able to love and that much to be able to face, that. And it just speaks to the person she is and the kind of people we want working with our kids, especially the kids. Again, you see the confidential reports, the charges, the things that happen that we get notified of, and this is where those kids go. And it's our job to make sure that they're educated and able to get back into regular school and be productive members of the school community and of society. So, I want to thank you both, because it's more than just taking a knife off a kid, which was obviously saved his life, but what you do every day with the most difficult kids to really get them back on track and get them back to school and being successful is amazing. So thank you. And I encourage anybody to go see the program.
So real quick, Mike, in regards to that piece, so right now they got a thing with when students get into fights, right? They got a thing with the whole get back thing. I just learned what the get back thing is. That keeps the act of harm going repeatedly over and over and over again. I jump one of yours, you jump one of mine. The piece with me sitting with the ones that killed my son, we do a lot of work in prisons, DYSs, around harm and repairing harm, right? And by me going in doing the work that I do, sitting with other individuals who killed other family members and holding them accountable and bear witness to transformation around restorative justice. And this is a conversation I have with them. Who am I not to sit with the individuals that harm my family and my kids, right? Doing this with them as well when they get into fights outside, right? These are fights. Back in our time, we can have a fight and it's done and over with, we move forward. These kids get stuck in it, now I'm gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? What that looks like, it's not okay. These behaviors have become a normalcy, which is not okay. So teaching them that it's not normal to hurt and harm, but also in our program, they argue and they go through. We allow them to utilize their voice, which is a strength, but how do you do that in a safe way? We do harm circles. When something happened, we bring them in our circle when we talk about what just happened, the roles that was played, and it's done there, and they leave and it's done, and they back in community again. So, like I said, you would have to definitely come by and see the program. Like I said, once again, Mike, thank you for the opportunity. Sharon, thank you. And I ain't here to speak for John, but be patient with him. I know it's a lot, but he's a good person. He's working on himself. And we all have our flaws, and we all, have to come back from whatever we're going through. We all have been through test trials and tribulations, and sometimes we get stuck in it, don't know how to go through it and not let it go through us. He's learning. So maybe I shouldn't have said that, but he's a good person.
Thank you both.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. And then again, finally, just to, the Huntington staff and the support through the Office of John Snellgrove and our adjustment counselors and Linda Lacurto with therapeutic support, and then obviously all the staff in the building dealing with the death of a student that was shot and killed. dealing with that on a Monday of last week because they found out about, was it Tuesday? Yeah, it was Monday morning, I believe it happened, and then Tuesday was the day, that they really had to deal with that, and then obviously the incident on Thursday. So how that staff has come together and really have supported each other and actually supported their students has been amazing. Home visits and just it's been a lot for them. So I commend the staff that went in to help them, but actually the staff that are in the building all day, every day to deal with two major incidents and keep themselves together and keep the students together as well. And, I have to commend them for the job that they've done through a very difficult week. So next, any questions? I don't want to.
Any questions for Superintendent? Mr. Rodriguez, please.
How many mentors, like far as her program, do we have?
So in her program,
many
there's,
total?
There's 3 in her program, and then you have.
That's what, staff members, or I'm asking overall in the district. So
overall
I
in
know
the
we have
districts, there'd
mentor.
be, Jamie, what do we have, about 15? 16?
16
Yeah,
different programs.
No, actually employees, mentor employees.
So 16 total.
And that, in FAM, which is Kenny Montero's program, and Get to the Gate are the only two
Only two.
programs that
Okay.
are contracted by vendors. And then the employees all fall under Mario Lamar, who works directly for Jamie. You know Mario.
Oh, yeah.
So Mario's like the supervisor of the I don't know what his new title is, but he's kind of like the supervisor of the mentors that are BPS employees, and then Jamie oversees the programs that are vendors.
Okay. Now, my other question is actually a request. If I know we just got a little brief, I would like to, see both programs.
Sure.
Actually, let us know exactly what they're doing. I have some concerns. I don't speak for anybody else because who actually works for them and what they represent. Because when I hear the term mentor, it's somebody that's positive and it's not negative. Because that's what mentors are. You don't want to. There's certain issues that I have with how people portray themselves. And, when you call yourself a mentor, you have to portray that to the public.
That's a good point.
Any other follow-up questions for the superintendent? Mr. Sullivan, please.
Just one, what are the hours for this program?
That program runs from 7:45 to 2:15. School day, has to be a full school day.
5 days a week?
5 days a week, yep.
Thank you.
None? We'll move on.
Yep. Next, I want to bring up Todd Erickson. He's a coordinator of accelerated programs in grade 4 to 12, and he's going to give us an update on this year's new Honors Academy.
Hi, everybody. So my name is Todd Erickson. I'm the coordinator of accelerated programs, grades 4 through 12. And I'm here to talk about the Honors Academy and a couple other brief, exciting things, very positive things that are happening. So the Honors Academy was started this year at 7 different middle schools, East, West, North, South, Davis, the Pluff, and Ashfield. And we have a total of, right now, 1,106 students across those 7 schools, and we have a large number of 59 different teachers teaching those classes. And I just wanted to point out that last school year, none of this existed. And I think that's pretty amazing. It took a lot of cooperation, collaboration amongst a lot of adults in the system to get this going. Just as a quick review, I think you got this information before, but right now in the Honors Academy we have 2 Honors Academy classes focusing on math. And in Honors Academy Math, students, it's essentially an accelerated math course. And in 8th grade, they take the 9th grade algebra class, and it focuses on real-world applications, and those are predominantly going to be taking place through performance tasks that students will do throughout the year. The other class that we offer right now is Honors Academy ELA, and in that class, students read advanced grade level texts, different genres, and they are also reading or completing independent proactive reading journeys. And in term 4, students are going to soon start a discovery project. Students who are in the Honors Academy also take a foreign language, and if students are English language learners, their foreign language is, in fact, English. That language, the offerings vary by schools, as you probably are familiar with. All of this requires a great deal of support for the teachers. Honors Academy classes, like every class, are challenging to teach. And we have a great support team, not just because my name's up there, but we also have Candy McGann, she's coordinator of math and science, 6 through 8. Jody Nelson, she's coordinator of ELA and social studies, grades 6 through 8. Jen Hunter, department head, middle school ESL. Abby Jansen is bilingual coach for middle schools, and we also have Danielle Wynn and Jenny Lundstedt, department heads for middle school special education. And these people all work closely together to provide a network of support for teachers. We also have other things that that support comes up in different forms. We have one-on-one time with teachers and small group support. We often visit the PLCs, professional learning communities in the schools. We have guidebooks for things such as the discovery project that students will be doing, and critical and creative thinking in the classroom, and the independent reading journeys. Students use their Carnegie textbooks, and we also have Study Sync and ELA. I recently provided some professional development for in math. I had the pleasure of working with all the Honors Academy math teachers to learn about how language can be a support in a math classroom, and something I call the Invigorator 2.0. I'll explain if anybody dares ask a question about that. But we also have, I wanted to point out that all of the professional development that the teachers receive also benefits students who don't happen to be or aren't yet in Honors Academy classes. In other words, all the teachers who are teaching Honors Academy classes also teach classes that are not Honors Academy classes. And this PD is something that's transferable in any education circumstance that they find themselves in. Just as some updates for next year for our families, some planning. For our incoming 6th graders, our identification criteria, we're going to look at MCAS predominantly, and then STAR results. And also, like with last year, any student who is currently in the TAG program at the Angelo will automatically go into the Honors Academy at their neighborhood school. The data will be considered in 3 rounds, so students will have will receive be identified in 3 different groups. First, we're going to look at it in the spring, right now, which just started, and then we'll look at data again in June, following additional STAR reports, and then in the fall we get MCAS results, and we'll look at those again. Students will be, this is a little bit different from last year. Last year we encouraged students to go into both Honors Academy Math and English, and we still will encourage that, but this year students will get will be identified specifically for Honors Academy Math or Honors Academy English, or for both. So a student doesn't necessarily have to take both, and though we encourage them to take both strongly. Students and families will be notified by letter, and of course, if we're going to notify students with a letter and identify students, it's because we believe, and we've used data to support our belief that students would benefit most from being in these classes. But as you know, it needs to be an option for students, their families, to opt out if they choose to do so. This year, there will be no application process. Students do not need to apply to be in the Honors Academy. Instead, they'll be identified. There is an appeal process, however, if a student does not receive a letter identifying them for Honors Academy Math, English, or both. There'll be an appeal process that families can apply for, and that will look at additional data, the math common assessments, and an ELA will look at benchmark writing. And then we'll also, for current 6th and 7th grade students who aren't currently in Honors Academy, we're going to look at their data as well, so that we can see if they would be best placed in an Honors Academy classes next year. I also, you didn't necessarily ask for this, but I wanted to share it because I think it's important. It was rolled out last year with the Honors Academy. At each of the 7 middle schools, we now have National Junior Honor Society chapters. At East, West, North, South, Davis, Pluff, and Asheville, they each have their own chapters. They each have their own advisors, a great group of people. And we recently set the minimum 3.0 cumulative GPA for students, and we are going to send out over 1,000 invitations to students to join or to apply to be in those chapters. So there's a long application process, and then the spring will be filled with 7 exciting National Junior Honor Society induction ceremonies across the district. And again, something to point out is that it took a lot of work from many people across the district working together. This did not exist last school year. So 2 very positive things, I think, for the district.
Sure.
Any questions?
I do. I just have to wait for the mayor.
Sure.
I was just saying, Mike and I wouldn't have qualified for that back in the day, that's for sure. Ms. Azak, please.
Thank you so much for the presentation. So this is wonderful. I know a lot of students, when we had the TAG program, we were limited for a certain number of students. And we had so many bright students that barely made, because I believe it was only 75 students at a time to get into the TAG program. Here, having the honors program, so many students are taking advantage of this. They love it. It's challenging them. And it's great that we have it at all the middle schools. I know they're all always excited. So one question I have is, I know last year some were getting the letters, some it was taking a little longer. Was it because it was the first year we were offering it? When, and I apologize if I missed it, I had to step away for a few minutes. When are the letters coming out as far as inviting the students into the program?
To my knowledge, I believe the letters were placed in students' Infinite Campus backpacks in June,
Okay.
I believe. This year, we're aiming for, like I said, in the spring, and I don't know the dates of spring technically, but it'll be soon. We have already looked at we decided on the data. We're looking at students. I'm actually meeting with Candy McGann to look at the data specifically this Friday. So we're going to identify students very soon. They'll get letters
Definitely.
soon. I'm drafting letters, well, not as we speak, but they're on my desk. And then again, there'll be another round of invites, I think, in the summer, and then one more in the fall. What we did have this year was that in the fall, when MCAS results came out, we learned that there were other students who really should be in these classes based on the MCAS results, and they received invitations, quote unquote, later, than the beginning of the school year. But for the most part, I think for rolling this out the first time, we did a really good job. Yeah.
No, definitely. So they always have an opportunity to opt in if they qualify, and if for some reason, I know I had a parent reach out last year because they hadn't gotten the invitation, but it was just taking a little longer. It was the first year, and their child was actually invited into the program. So I know a lot of them are looking forward to it. It's a great program. I'm glad we started the honors program. And then I'm seeing so many excited proud parents posting the letters that their children have gotten to, as far as the National Junior Honor Society. I've seen it all over social media the past week. So a lot of proud parents. Maybe we should have their ceremony at Brockton High, giving them a big stage. Different schools, have them come in rather than have them in their schools. But invite them here and give them an opportunity to see what Brockton High, that way it gives them an opportunity to come here as well and accept for the National Honor Society. But I know there's a lot of them, and again, proud students, proud parents. I don't know about the rest of the committee, but I've seen it all over social media the past few days, everyone getting their letters. So this is the positive stuff. We definitely try to have our students stand out and offer them different opportunities. So thank you so much for the honors program. And my 2 nieces were in the TAG program, and one's graduating college and the other one's in her sophomore year. So it was a wonderful program, and this is a great extension of it.
Thank you, Ms. Azak. Mrs. Sullivan, please.
Thank you for the presentation. I was a big proponent of the TAG program, and I saw a lot of amazing things that the TAG program did. And I've had a couple of people contact me over the time that we've done the honors program, which is just 1 year, that have their kids at the Angelo, and we ask these kids to leave their neighborhood schools to go to the Angelo, and then the kids are all together and they think they're going to stay together, and then they're split up again to go to the middle schools. And I have a few constituents that were really upset about that. So I just wanted to, if we could somehow, with the Angelo kids that are there, if we could somehow, and I know the committee didn't really know that this was going to happen, this point of it, and we're kind of being blamed for voting on it. And so I think we have to be more about the Angelo kids and where they're going, and that when they're leaving their friends and having to split up again after they've been together for 3 years here or 2?
It's 2 at the
2
end.
years there. That I think we have to be really, thinking about the kids and how they're handling moving, actually splitting up from their friends that they just formed for 2 years, and they already left their neighborhood school. I think it's a real proponent that we should look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Any additional questions at this time?
Mrs. Sullivan just made the statement. That's what I ran into last year as well. And I'm getting calls this year as well. Is they're forming a bond, and now we're asking them. A lot of them are not in their neighborhood schools. Now we're asking them to separate to go to their middle school, which is in their neighborhood school. So a lot of them, going into middle schools it's tough. You're going from elementary into middle. It's totally different for a lot of students, and they struggle. But to add that extra struggle that now is separating you, we try our best to, accommodate as much as we can. But I know last year I had a difficult time. I had so many parents reach out, just like Mrs. Sullivan. A lot of them were the same constituents. And that was the only negative that we had.
I want to jump in because I don't think it's a negative. What has been a negative is these students being together in one classroom or 2 classrooms, 75 of them together for 4 years, 5 years. I've had more bullying investigations coming out of Pluff because these students are together so long. It has not been a healthy environment. We have not seen the results of students doing well, even though we consider them in TAG. The results didn't show. The Pluff was a school in turnaround. So I want to be clear about, it wasn't working. And people, the Pluff Academy, and I'm not putting a school down, but the Pluff Academy with the full TAG program is a school identified by the state of a very poor performing school, which is now starting to turn it around. But I just want to be clear that, especially parents this year, like last year, I agree with 100%. It was new parents that thought they were all going to go together in the 4th grade, and we did make accommodations to keep them together. We did not say they couldn't go to the Pluff. This year, the parents coming in, coming into the 4th grade, knowing, so they've known now for over a year that they would be going to back to their neighborhood middle school. Now it's time for us to look at, with Dr. Spalding, even taking them out of elementary, and why are we doing that and sending them? Because again, it's limited to 75 kids, and we know from the 1,000 number at the middle school that we have, why is it only 75 4th and 5th graders? That's not access and equality at all. So we need to start looking at the TAG program at the elementary, because there are more than 75 kids, or 150, in the 4th and 5th grade that are accelerated. But again, we limited them, and we thought it was best to start with middle school. But now we really have to talk about elementary, because we're really doing a disservice for those kids, and a lot of them are students with disabilities and English language learners that are not getting that opportunity because there's only 150 kids at the elementary level. So I agree 100% with Ms. Azak and Mrs. Sullivan about last year was difficult. But this year, them going back to the regular middle schools, the parents have known this, and it was clear to them during the orientation that they're going back to their neighborhood school, but we really have to start looking at. And I can't get into details, but I can tell you through the Office of Student Support, when Sharon was there, and now that Jamie is there, this students being together and for 5 years from 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade has caused a lot of issues within a tag program and has resulted in several bullying investigations. So, I mean, we've looked at that, and again, I hear what you're saying, but we have to start trying to think differently about equity and access for our students, because there is much more than 150 third and fourth graders that can be in an accelerated program. So I just wanted to throw that out there, but your point is well taken.
Mr. Sullivan, want to follow up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this certain parent this year, we want to keep kids here.
Oh, yeah.
But she's already looking to move the child out of the district. So just to think about that part of it too.
Yep.
So if we think about the whole thing, then, because,
Yeah.
I mean, her child was only just beginning Angelo, and she's already looking to move the child out of the district. So, just so the parents get
Yep.
their concerns heard also.
Sure.
Yep, thank you.
Mrs. Rivas Mendez, please.
I just want to give a huge shout out. 1106 students, 7 different middle schools. When I first came into the school committee, I remember this just being a question that I had. If we're ensuring that all students are getting a high quality education, how do we just have a tag program in 2 of our schools? So this is a huge leap that we have taken. So I just want to give that as a shout out. In regards to the comments that my school committee colleagues have made, a wonder that I have is, well, first I kind of want to be facetious and ask you, what's this in rigor attire 2.0? Because you said dare to ask. So I'm like, okay, so I want to dare to ask now.
All right. So, it is a PD that I went around to meet with the different Honors Academy teachers, and I had them create their own tools that they could use to help them to increase the rigor of the questions that they were asking their students. And I called it the Invigorator 2.0, which is an odd name, but it's 2.0 because originally I thought, well, I could have teachers send their questions to me, and then I could write back with how they might change the question to be more rigorous. But then I realized that it would be more beneficial, you teach a man to fish, right, as opposed to buying them a fish, to have them create their own tools, because teachers need to, like students, teachers need to learn, right? And they need to learn at their own pace and need to meet them when they're at. And they're all very capable people. They're all here for good reasons. And they've created some wonderful Invigorator 2.0s, and they come up with different names, and they have different traits that they look for in their questions. So it's gone really well. They got very good feedback from teachers about it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So my follow-up question is, when you talk about no application and just being identifying, who is doing the identifying for these students to be able to be in honors math or honors English or both?
Yep. So my understanding is that, or my goal in getting students into the Honors Academy is to eliminate possibility for bias. Because I think, I'm not saying that we have been biased, but the 75 students in one grade in a massive district doesn't look great. So the part of that is relying more heavily on data, such as the MCAS, that ideally is not considered to be biased, and goes through a rigorous process of, eliminating bias in it. So the identifying is not done. It's through us looking at the data. The data is the tool by which we identify students, if that makes sense. I don't look at a group of students and say, oh, this one you get in for such and such a reason. It's based solely on the specific data points, this MCAS star, and if they're currently in the tag program. So yeah, I would say that the data is the thing that's identifying students, if that makes sense.
So in the case that, let's say, the data only says one story, right? But there's a high reference on a student that a teacher or someone that works directly with them sees the potential, but they're not meeting that data point that the MCAS gives you? What happens to a student that's on the verge but is not there yet?
In that case, I think their teacher recommendations, for a variety of reasons, that is a longer conversation, but those can be problematic if you start accepting this teacher's recommendation and so on and so forth. So it's better if we look at specifically at the data. If a teacher thinks that, then they could bring it up, and we can look at the additional data, and we also have the appeal process, which brings in additional data points, such as their writing and other, pieces of their education. But teacher recommendations kind of open up a can of worms, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it becomes a little problematic. In other words, it gets more wishy-washy the farther away you get from the data.
Sean, do all the students do an essay as well?
We had students do an essay last year, and the people in charge of the process did an excellent job. But what we found was that it wasn't giving us a lot of helpful information in identifying students. And also, if we had accepted students based specifically on the essay, it wasn't the students who should be in because of their MCAS and STAR scores wouldn't have gotten in specifically because of the essay. And as you know, we're improving our writing district-wide. So I think sticking with the MCAS, which does have writing as part of it, and including STAR, kind of takes care of that component.
So I guess you mentioned bias a lot, and that's what I was thinking in regards of identifying. Is there any way that we could get data on who are the students that are in these programs, like the 1106? Like,
Yep.
who are the students? Like, what are their racial backgrounds? What are their socioeconomic backgrounds? Who are the students that are getting access and opportunity? Right. So if we talk about equity and access, I wonder, what does that look like for the 1106 students that we have in these programs?
I have it
like,
right
who
here.
are they?
Would you
Oh,
like to-
perfect.
yeah.
Thank you.
So we have 1,106 students. In that, we have 2.6 are students with disability. Our former ELLs, we actually have 226 FLEP students, 20.4%. ELLs, we have 1.6%. Low income is 62% of these students. In terms of race groups, African American represent 54% of these students, Asian 3.3%, Hispanic 15.6%, white 20.4%, we have 0.1% Native American, Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander 0.1%, and multi-race non-Hispanic is 5.9%. So it's fairly representative of the student population as a whole, I'd say. Yeah.
Thank you. And then my last question is, I think Joyce kind of mentioned it, the opting in and opting out. So let's say 1 year a student just qualifies for honors math.
Yep.
Can the next year they then try and qualify for both?
Yep, and the student doesn't actively have to try to qualify. That's the other piece, is that it's using the data itself as the thing that identifies. So there's no application process. They just need to work hard at school. And if they keep working hard, then they'll should find themselves in honors classes. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Rivas-Mendez. Any additional comments or questions at this time? We'll move on. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
So earlier tonight, Aldo presented the first round of the budget report from the governor's budget. We will continue to have, obviously, finance subcommittee meetings every Tuesday night, either non-school committee meetings or regular, formal school committee meetings. So those will be scheduled. So just to let the public know that they'll be obviously posted online. Budget documents are always posted. The meetings are posted online, the agenda, but the budget documents will also be posted. So Jess will put a tab on the, was that? Every other right now until we have something more? Okay, got it. But there'll be, these documents, the documents that are presented to the school committee will be online, so parents, community members can see them as well as we go through this entire process.
Thank you, Superintendent. Any questions on that from Mike? So the next matter, subsection B on Agenda 4 is items to refer to subcommittee. Are there any matters to refer to subcommittee at this time?
I have two.
Yep, Mr. Superintendent.
So next week, I would like to have, starting at 6, a safety and security transportation meeting. Sergeant Livingston, Lieutenant Maker, Tobias, Cowens, and Dr. Cobbs have been reviewing an app, like an emergency 911 app that would be available. It's almost like a panic button for staff, but with a lot of capabilities. So we would have that presented to the school committee at this Safety and Security Transportation update. And Mike would be here with Dr. Cobbs, Tobias, Lieutenant Maker. We'll also have the vendor Zoom in because he'll be traveling to show you that program and explain it as just another possibility for us to improve safety across the district. And Melinda, there was one other for next week. What did I forget? Oh, facilities. Peter Mello has to bring back. So that would be, facilities would be at 7. 6 o'clock would be, is my recommendation. Facilities would be, because Peter Mello has been working the Neighborhood Health Center building, which is still pending out there. So the next step of that process, which is a bid that needs to go out, Peter needs to explain that to the facilities subcommittee. And I'm recommending it for next week, but again, that's up to the committee, whether you can either do both of those meetings. So I'm just throwing them out there as recommendations, and obviously those.
Ms. Izak.
Thank you. I chair the Safety, Traffic, and Transportation. I'm going to be out on medical on Tuesday, so I will not be able to, and that's something I would like to attend. If we can move it to the following Tuesday, unless it's urgent and has to be on that
Peter, we
Tuesday.
good for another week?
You're talking about the transportation, right?
No, facilities around the Neighborhood Health Center.
Yeah, I'm on both
Building.
of them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. We'd move it to the following week. What?
We have the finance meeting and school committee in the April, that's April 4th.
And then school committee meeting? All right, so we'll just have to, we'll have to work, if you, Mercedes, if you can work with the other members and maybe
Sure,
we do a
just so we can make
Wednesday
sure we
night
have a
or
quorum.
something, another night of the week would be, we could do it then, that's up to you.
Okay. We can work on a date. Otherwise, would April 11th, is that too far out,
I
or?
think it's too far out,
Okay.
yeah, because we need to figure out how we want to move on this project. So, I mean, if you want to do another night, that's not a Tuesday, that's up to you.
Okay. Thank you.
But you can work with the other members and let Melinda know.
Sure, we'll coordinate with the facilities and probably do
Thanks.
them both on the same night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other matters to refer to subcommittee? Mr. Rodriguez, please.
I'll work with the members for athletics, music, and arts. I'll coordinate that with Melinda so we can get that on the table.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Any additional? Mr. Izak.
Superintendent, where are we with the dedication for the champion, the Jones Building?
We just got the date today from Mr. Jones. The mayor's going to bring that up, so actually I can bring it up now. So Melinda talked to Mr. Jones today. He's feeling a lot better. And he wants to do it, and again, he has to do it during the late morning because that's just when he can come out. So he would like to do it on April 4th at 11 a.m. at Summer Street. And he just couldn't do a later time. He has to do late morning by the time he gets up and does his physical therapy and takes his medication. He's very frail. But we heard from him today. Melinda had a nice conversation. He's feeling a lot better, and he feels that would be the best date and time.
Plus his birthday's coming up, right, Melinda, the 27th? Oh, it's August?
August.
Oh, I thought it was coming up. Good thing I didn't order the cake at White's. We'll move on. Agenda item 5 is unfinished business, discussion and potential vote, appointments to subcommittees for the 2023 calendar year. As you were all aware, 2 weeks ago, I made it clear what my intentions are. I think it only makes sense to have all 7 members on the bid committee. Peter Mello was here. That night, I indicated that we're going to need to modify the rules and regs of the school committee. There's one section of the rules and regs that need to be modified. Attorney Mello has them right here. So on Friday, when you get your next packet, you're going to have the rules and regs in there, give you time to look at it. In a nutshell, what it's going to do is it's going to make a change so that all 7 members duly elected through the wards are going to be members of the bid subcommittee. It will be chaired, because I'm not going to be on it, it will be chaired by the current vice chair. And then going forward, any vice chair that is duly elected will be that. But Attorney Mello, that's accurate. We'll have this for everybody on Friday, and then the matter would come before us on an agenda item 2 weeks' time, right? 2 weeks from tonight?
That's right, Mayor.
Okay. So there is no vote for us this evening, but in 2 weeks' time, there will be a vote. But again, please be on the lookout for it. I know Attorney Mello spent a lot of time looking at other municipalities in the Commonwealth, but I think I made it clear what the desire would be. It's only right to have everybody included in that. Case in point, we had a meeting today in Mike's office about the renovation of this building, and it's going to be a lot of work, a lot of bids. So all of you roll up the sleeves, because it is going to be a challenge, but it's going to be a great challenge that we'll meet. So anything else, Attorney Mello, that you want to share on that?
No, I think you hit the high points, Mayor. Perhaps I didn't hear you add that we would, associated with the change to the bid review subcommittee regulation, would also be an adjustment to a couple of other provisions of the policies. For example, the policy that limits subcommittees to 4 members.
Correct, yes.
Imposes a 3-member minimum quorum for subcommittees. That would obviously have to come out insofar as this would be a 7-person subcommittee.
Correct.
There are some associated tweaks to a couple of other policy provisions associated with this change, but those are, minor in nature. It's all laid out in the draft text that will be circulated and accompanied.
In the packet on Friday when it's delivered. Yeah, and again, Attorney Mello gave it to me tonight. It's pretty clear on what the desire is, but that's what we want to do. We want to change it from the current composition to all 7 members. Any questions on that by anybody? Seeing none, we can move on. Agenda 6 is the new business, and Superintendent had asked me to read this into the record again. The Brockton High Drama Club advanced, this is awesome news, advanced to the state finals of the Massachusetts Educational Theater Guild High School Theater Festival. They're going to perform their short play entitled Gossip next week in Boston at the Back Bay Event Center. They are one of only 14 schools out of 100 to advance to the finals, and that's just a round of applause to Mr. Hogan and the team. As Mr. Hogan had said, just making it to the state final is like making it to the Super Bowl. It really is an incredible honor. It's a very challenging competition in which everything is timed, including makeup, putting together the set, the play itself. It's a true testament to the skill not only of the students on stage, but the crew and everybody backstage. It's also worth noting the Brockton High School Drama Club is defending their state championship because the state level competition was last held in 2019, and they won the piece entitled Magic Theater. So now another big announcement was made yesterday. The title of the spring musical coming up, we'll do a drum roll, Mamma Mia, which is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. It's the first time Brockton High School Drama Club has ever performed a hit musical, so kudos to Mr. Hogan and the team. It's going to be awesome. We all know Cedric Turner, Mr. Turner from Empower Yourself. Empower Yourself students did an outstanding job at the 9th Annual Global Economic Symposium, where they competed against high schools and middle school students from Washington, D.C., New Orleans, New York, Dallas, and Chicago. Brockton High School came in first place. I'll say that again, came in first place in the high school division, exploring the topic of basic universal income. During the event, team captain Aris Cardoso learned that he received full scholarships to Notre Dame University, Bentley University, and the Eisenberg Institute up at UMass. So that's another awesome. The middle school team swept the middle school division, with North getting first place and Asheville teams coming both in second place and third place. And again, this is a program that allows our students to not only explore complex real-world subjects, but also practice leadership and public speaking skills. So thank you, Mr. Turner and your team, and Empower Yourself. We just talked about Mr. Jones's dedication, again, April 4th at 11 a.m. over at 596 Summer Street. Just want to also give a shout out to the staff and students at Champion today. We actually had a fire in the woods behind Champion. At no time were Champion students or staff threatened, but it did disrupt dismissal. Sue, the principal over there, was able to coordinate it. We had to block off the street because of fire apparatus and stuff. But again, kudos to everybody that was calm and collective about the whole time, and we put the fire out. Brian Nidelli, Chief Nidelli, and the team put that out in timely order. So before we go into number 7, I just have to read the following. I'm sorry, Ms. Azak.
A couple of shout outs. So
Sure.
I apologize, Mayor, if you already mentioned this, but Thursday night, March 23rd, we have the Spring Choral Concert here at Brockton High School at 7 p.m. For those that would like to attend, that will be happening this evening, Thursday evening. And then I just wanted to recognize Phyllis Ellis and her executive team. The Brockton NAACP branch recognized 10 phenomenal women. So, we last year they had 26 recipients. This year, 10 recipients, put on a wonderful event. Mr. Rodriguez and I and a few others were there. So we just want to recognize them. You can always watch that on BCA. I believe they recorded it. We have some phenomenal women that were presented, and hearing their stories is very inspiring. And I see Mrs. Hayward is my phenomenal sister in the crowd with some others. So I just want to recognize that. But thank you so much.
I also have to give a shout out to the Brockton High students and staff. I had the State of the City here in the Nelson Auditorium last Thursday night. Thank you for those that attended. Everybody was phenomenal, but it was the students that really helped. Senator Markey sent his video literally 45 minutes before the State of the City. We had already had the video set from the governor, lieutenant governor, and former lieutenant governor, but the students just went to work and did what they do. So I was able to meet with all of them after the State of the City, but I just want to give a shout out also to Brockton Community Access. Thomas was here, Tracy was here, but again, that's what we have here at Brockton High. So again, thank you to everybody that participated in that event. I have to read the following into the record if I could. Agenda 7 is executive session. Executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A and Section 21A3 to discuss strategy and obtain advice of counsel with respect to litigation against Jewel Labs, Inc., also known as Jewel, and others as part of the multi-district litigation pending U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, known as NRA, Jewel Labs, Inc., Marketing, Sales Practices, and Product Liability Litigation. The docket number is case number 319-MD-2913- capital W, capital H, capital O, comma, and to consider and potentially vote on a proposed settlement agreement with Jewel. So we will not be coming back into open session once we're in executive session. So at this time, I need a motion and then properly second, and then we need to take a roll call to go into executive. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to go into executive session.
It's a motion made by Mr. Homer. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Mrs. Sullivan. I'll just now need to read the roll. Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mr. Homer?
Yes.
Mrs. Ehlers?
Yes.
Mrs. Rivas-Mendez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Ms. Azak?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Chair says yes as well, unanimous. We will go into executive session, and again, we will not be coming back here into open session. Thank you.